Welcome to Sacred Cow Shipyards, where no ship is safe from being taken down to its nuts and bolts. Holy f***balls. You ever had a day where it seems like every goddamn thing in the universe wants to take a shit on your bed? Yeah, that's been my f***ing week. Welcome to my world. The f***, man? I don't even have a goddamn bed for you f***ing things to take a shit on. What? Go away! Anyways, since I'm in such a happy and cheerful mood, I thought I would address some customer feedback. Y'all remember the episode about the Space Above and Beyond ISSCV transport craft, landing craft, cargo craft, whatever you want to call it? Of course you do. It's basically the benchmark episode for what a good military transport, well, I guess it would work for civilians too, but military transport craft should function like. Especially a atmospheric and space-capable transport craft. Of course, an atmospheric dedicated craft would look a lot different, and a space-dedicated craft would look terribly different. But the ISSCV happily spans both those environments and operates fairly well in both those environments and still does an amazing job for what it does. Well, someone tried to get snarky about this, and let's get into that. First off, do you think this walnut happens to know when Halo Combat Evolved got released? I don't know, probably not. By y'all's accounting, it was released in 2001. 2001. Kind of a big year. Y'all just went through that Y2K scare and other things happened, whatever. You humies and your technology, I swear to God. Anyways. Now, hey, guess when Space Above and Beyond got released? Go ahead and guess. I mean, I can't hear you, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Anyways, the show first aired in 1995, by your accounting. Now, math is not my strong suit, despite being a dockmaster of an interstellar shipyard. But I'm pretty sure 1995 comes before 2001. I could be wrong. Now, you could make the argument, perhaps, that Halo was being developed before Space Above and Beyond came out. So maybe the Pelican predates the ISSCV or something like that. Okay, let's go with that idea. Space Above and Beyond ran from 1995 to 1996. It successfully completed a single season, sadly. There should have been so much more, but as usual, Fox screws everything up. So anyways, guess when Halo started being developed? Go ahead, guess. Oh, no, I still can't hear you. Why am I doing this? Anyways, Bungie started working on what would become Halo Combat Evolved in 1997. You know, the year after Space Above and Beyond went off the air. And by the way, it was apparently supposed to be a real-time strategy game before it became a first-person shooter, which is kind of interesting. Weird shift to make, but these things happen when you're making games, I guess. So anywho, if there was any copying involved going on here, the Pelican is actually a copy of the ISSCV. And yes, I do consider this significant because it's a benchmark. Again, like I said, I don't know how many minutes ago. The general concept of a platform that is supposed to be flying around deploying things onto the ground from space and making that transition from space to atmo to gravity and so on and so forth, there are only so many ways to do it, and ISSCV is one of the good ones. Now, you could also make the argument that the Cheyenne from the Aliens movie also was a significant influence on the Pelican. In fact, I would argue it's a greater significance on the Pelican than the ISSCV. But the Cheyenne from Aliens doesn't have the whole thrust vectoring concept that the Pelican and the ISSCV and various other landing craft do have. So it's a product from an older age in your cinema. I mean, you humans didn't really think about thrust vectoring and exoatmospheric operations and this, that, and the other when y'all were making the Aliens movie. You just made things look cool. I mean, and you did. Well, let's face it. Anyways, on to the Pelican itself, otherwise known as the D-77 TAC TC, otherwise known as the Dropship 77 TAC Troop Carrier. Makes sense. I mean, it's mostly just a troop transport. Anyways, the Pelican. It's okay. I mean, perfectly honest, it's okay. It is an exoatmospheric, in-atmosphere capable dropship. It does have the standard rotational engine pods that one would expect out of such things. However, it is very obviously geared towards being heavily atmospheric.
It's streamlined. It has wings that can probably give it lift. The engines are closer into the body, so they reduce drag as opposed to the ISSCV, where they're out on the wingtips and give better control out in space. And it's actually set up to be a ramjet, which, I mean, is wild, but it also requires a lot of atmosphere to shove into the ram. You know, physics. But see, that's not actually my primary complaint with it. And we're not even getting into shortcomings. My primary complaint is that, okay, yes, it's a dedicated dropship. It mostly carries people. It can carry equipment, and it accomplishes this by literally hanging said equipment off of its tail. It's kind of unclear how the hanging process works. Mag clamps, ropes, not sure. Doesn't really matter. My personal problem is that the cargo held externally underneath the Pelican swings. This is a, ridiculously massive problem. So to back it up and kind of break it down for you squishy humies, helicopters have two ways of carrying cargo. It's either right up against them or way down at the end of a string. Rope, cord, line, whatever you want to call it. And the point is, the cargo is going to move because the helicopter above it is moving. And there's air involved, and air induces drag, and the cargo is not hard clamped to the helicopter, so it moves. But the nice thing about having the cargo a long distance from the helicopter is that skilled pilots, and only skilled pilots do this kind of nonsense, can observe the oscillation of the cargo and try and dampen it. And this is important, because oscillations lead to harmonics, and harmonics lead to crashes. There's just no way around it. Once the helicopter and the cargo gets moving in a certain way hard enough, bad things are going to happen. Again, just physics. Really good helicopter pilots snag the cargo, literally just sling it around and drop it off exactly where they want it to go when they're done with it, because they understand that the longer you have the cargo on the line, the more problematic it's going to be. Now, that's on long lines. Like I said, you can observe the cargo swinging. You can counteract it because helicopters can move freely in basically all three dimensions. There's some complications, but basically yes. Now, when the cargo is not bolted to the helicopter, but strapped to the underside of the helicopter, but still allowed free motion, that's a different problem. See, the thing is, when the load's way out at the end of a line, you've got some time to compensate for whatever the load's doing. If the load is right there up against you, you got no time at all. And again, the load's going to shift because apparently whatever they're using to attach these things to underneath the tail of the Pelican allows the load to move. Why would you do that? And again, if the load moves, oh, that's an oscillation. And guess what oscillations lead to? Bad! I mean, for holy fuck's sake. The Pelican only weighs 138 tons, and the Scorpion tank that it frequently carries underneath its tail weighs 66 tons. That's nearly 50% of the Pelican's weight. And it's just kind of hanging out back there, swinging around, doing knows what. If you're going to carry cargo that looks like it's directly bolted to the fucking airframe that's carrying it, bolt it to the fucking airframe. Don't let it swing around. Anyways, aside from that, the Pelican was very clearly optimized for atmospheric operations, and in that regard, it works fairly well. It was, in fact, optimized apparently for close combat support situations. It has the options for nose cannons, it has the options for wing-mounted weapon pylons and weapon pods, and missile that and missile the other, and so on and so forth. But it definitely falls into the trap of jack of all trades and master of none. It is not an air superiority vehicle. It is not a ground support vehicle. It's not armored nearly enough. It is barely a transport vehicle, given that it can carry 10 to 20 odd people, given their particular loadout, but it can't leave anything behind like, say, the ISSCV can. It can't leave behind a resupply point, a bunker, a command station, even additional guns. No, it's just like, peace out, fuck off, I'm gone. So in fairness, it is not terribly dissimilar from your current modern concept of transport, vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. They are great at dropping people off. They're not awesome at supporting people, and their cargo support is questionable/limited. So, I mean, given that Halo is supposed to appeal to certain aspects of, like, your version of modern combat, only supposed to be combat evolved. I guess evolved in this case mostly means just in space. All that said, I would like to invite all of my listeners who have lasted this long, and there probably aren't that many of you, to have a moment of silence for Echo 419 and Fohammer, her pilot. And that's all from Sacred Cow Shipyards. Please be advised that any ship left on the dock for more than 24 hours will be compressed to a cube. Have a good day.